What if the latest polling averages in each of the key battleground states in the 2024 presidential election were to shift by a comparable margin to the polling error that we have seen in the last 4 presidential elections? I've gone back and calculated the average polling error across 17 different competitive states between the 2008 and 2020 presidential elections, so that in today's video we can take a peek at what a potential 2024 electoral college map would look like if that same polling error occurred in these grayed out states. These 17 states have all been relatively competitive over the last 2 decades or so, and therefore we have enough polling average data available dating all the way back to 2008 that we can take a look at here on this sheet. I will be adding this weighted error number to the most recent 2024 polling average via Decision Desk HQ and The Hill in order to produce an adjusted result that we will use to assign likely, lean, and tilt ratings on our map. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'll be going through states in alphabetical order, so starting in Arizona, Trump leads Biden by an average of 4.4% based on 52 polls in Decision Desk HQ and The Hill's polling average. That is obviously a really strong number for Trump, given that he lost Arizona to Biden by 0.3% in 2020, and the state has seen a strong leftward trend in recent years. That being said, Trump's margin is only going to get stronger, though, as GOP presidential candidates have outperformed polling in Arizona by an average of 2.4% over the last 4 elections. Most recently, they underestimated Trump by 2.3% in 2020, as Biden only ended up winning by 0.3%, while the 538 average had him up by 2.6% entering Election Day. Arizona is actually the only state in which Republicans have been underestimated in all 4 cycles. Favorite son John McCain by 5 points in 2008, Romney by 1.6 in 2012, and then Trump by 1.8 and 2.3. All things considered, this means that we shift Trump's current 4.4% lead over Biden, according to DDHQ, 2.4 points to the right based on that average error. And that creates a Trump plus 7 adjusted result, which is enough for a likely Republican rating in Arizona here on our electoral map. Next, we head to Colorado. DDHQ in The Hill has Biden leading Trump by 7.1% based on 9 polls. That is a strong lead for the president, though it is nearly cut in half from his 13.5-point win in 2020. Colorado had the strongest leftward shift of any state in the nation between 2016 and 2020, as it had previously only voted for Clinton by 5 points in 2016. And out of all the states that we will be examining in this video, polling in Colorado has actually underestimated Democratic candidates the most by 1.8% on average since 2008. It was the only state in which Biden outperformed polling in 2020, as 538 had him leading by 12.5%, yet he won by 13.5%. Democrats were also underestimated in 2016, 2012, and 2008. Funnily enough, our first 2 states here are the only 2 in which one party has either been over or underestimated in all 4 cycles. Here in Colorado, it means that the projected results based on that error would shift from D plus 7.1 to D plus 8.9, another likely rating, but this time for Biden and the Democrats. Shifting over to the southeast now for our next 2 states, starting in the electoral behemoth of Florida. 30 electoral votes are at stake here in the Sunshine State, where the polling average is Trump plus 6.3, with the former Republican president drawing 48.9% of support in the Sunshine State over Biden's 42.6%. The fact that Trump leads by a comfortable margin in Florida is hardly surprising, as it has been shifting more rapidly to the right than any other state in the country over the last few cycles. The polling error here, though, is R plus 2.5%, meaning that Republicans have overperformed by that much on average since 2008. This error was most egregious in 2020 as Biden led in 538's final average in Florida by 2.5 points, yet Trump carried the state by 3.4%. That was the largest margin for a presidential candidate in Florida since 2004, and made it one of just 6 states where Trump did better than in 2016. Trump was also expected to lose in Florida in 2016, according to the polls, yet he prevailed by just over a point. Anyways, Trump's 6.3-point lead over Biden in the DDHQ average is therefore adjusted to favor Trump by 8.8%, another likely Republican rating over here on our electoral map. And then just to the north, let's go to Georgia, where Trump leads by 3.4% based on 41 polls here. The bright spot here for Biden is that this is Trump's narrowest polling advantage since last October, and down from as high as around 8 points earlier in March. The latest battleground poll from Morning Consult and Bloomberg News released this past week has Trump's lead at just 1 point, and that is significant because taking a look over at our polling error sheet, the polls in Georgia specifically have actually been very accurate over the last decade. All 4 misses were within the margin of error, including 2016 and 2020, when Trump seemingly overperformed by wide margins everywhere. He was only underestimated by about a point in both of those elections, and the overall weighted error adjusted for recency comes out to just a 0.5% bias in favor of Democrats. So the average hardly moves from 3.4% to 3.9%. Either way, Georgia will lean towards Trump here on our map. Now, before we move on to the next state, let's take a moment to talk about something that is changing the game when it comes to bad habits. Have you heard of the flavored air category? It's quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking, and today's sponsor, Fume, is at the forefront of that movement. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that draws delightful flavors to your mouth without any vapor, nicotine, or batteries. You can use it anywhere, guilt-free, and it even helps fill the void that ditching a bad habit can leave. Plus, it looks awesome and is designed to calm anxiety with its magnetic snaps and clicks. Fume has already served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code ElectionPredictions to get your free Fume base when you order the Journey Pack. It is the all-new magnetic stand for your Fume device. Head to tryfume.com, that is tryfum.com, and use code ElectionPredictions, or scan the QR code on your screen right now to get your free Fume base when you order your Journey Pack today. Now, our first dip into the critical Midwest region is up here in Iowa, a likely Trump state in both 2016 and 2020. The former Republican president leads Biden by just 3.1% right now, based on 10 polls in DDHQ's average, though we have not seen a new poll since April. That being an outlier showing him up by only 2 points after leading by double digits in several polls prior. Polling itself has been really poor in Iowa in recent years, underestimating Republicans by 4.6% on average, which is tied for the strongest error with Ohio. It did have Trump leading by 3 points in 2016 in Iowa and 1.3 in 2020, only for Trump to smash those expectations, winning by 9.4% and 8.2% respectively. So that means that Iowa's projected results goes from R plus 3.1 per the latest poll average to R plus 7.8, another likely Republican rating. To Maine we go now. There are not enough polls yet for DDHQ and the Hill to have created an average for this race, so instead we'll rely on race to the White House's average of the 5 polls surveying this race so far, and it has Biden ahead by 5.8% with exactly half of support, 50%, to Trump's 44.2%. Polling here has overestimated Democratic presidential candidates by an average of less than a point at 0.9% since 2008, meaning that the adjusted results in Maine becomes D plus 4.9, still a lean Democratic margin. I should note here that I've already placed Maine's 2nd district as likely R, and Nebraska's 2nd district as lean D based on 2020's results, as we don't have enough polling data history or for 2024 to include them in this video. Now let's jump over to our first state in our Rust Belt core trio, Michigan, one of the few battlegrounds where Biden has led Trump at various points this cycle. Currently, the Democratic president holds a narrow advantage of 0.4% based on 56 polls. Michigan was Biden plus 3 in 2020, and Democrats have had a string of recent success in statewide and down-ballot races since 2020 as well. For those reasons, Michigan is considered a must-win for Biden. If he were to lose Michigan, there's a good chance that all of the other less Democratic-friendly swing states, like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, also here in the Rust Belt, and then Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada across the Sun Belt, all would have also backed Trump by an even wider margin. Over on our poll error sheet, we see that polling in Michigan has underestimated Republicans by 2% on average across the last 4 presidential races, including a 3.5-point Trump overperformance in 2016 and 5 points in 2020. This means that Biden's 0.4% lead flips to Trump at R plus 1.6, making it tilt Republican here on our electoral map. Again, this would be a pretty catastrophic result for Biden's chances at 270 electoral votes. And then jumping 2 states to the west, our next state is Minnesota, where DDHQ has Biden leading by just 1.5 points based on 14 polls. I say just because Biden did carry Minnesota by 7 in 2020, which was actually a 2-point underperformance relative to the polls that had him leading by 9 points. The overall weighted error in Minnesota is also 2 points, actually, same as in Michigan. The largest miss, though, came in 2016, where Clinton led by more than 7 points headed into Election Day, yet came just 1.5 points from a surprise loss. That 1.5% margin is the same as Biden's poll lead right now, which, as was the case in Michigan, again flips to Trump here as we shift it 2 points to the right to get R plus 0.5. And that means that Minnesota tilts towards Trump here on our map, a result that would break Minnesota's longest active streak in the nation of voting blue. Let's shift back out west again to Nevada. Trump currently holds a lead of 4.5% based on 39 polls. This does track right around where Trump's lead has hovered all cycle long, between 3 to 6 points. Nevada has voted Democrat in each of the last 4 presidential races, and the polling history in the states actually suggests a slight overestimation of Republicans, with an average miss of D plus 0.6. Polls here did overestimate Biden's performance in 2020, just like pretty much every other state. Yet in 2016, 2012, and 2008, the polls underestimated Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Now, if we adjust for this historical bias, the race for president in Nevada shifts from Trump plus 4.5% down to Trump plus 3.9%. Either way, the Silver State would be placed in the lean Republican territory. Our next state is all the way up in New England here with New Hampshire, Biden plus 7 in 2020. Just like Minnesota, Trump came very close to flipping it in 2016 before it then shifted hard back into the Democratic column. The latest average from DDHQ has the incumbent president leading Trump by 3.7% based on 9 polls. And the Granite State does have a historical polling error of R plus 2, so a 2-point underestimation of the GOP on average. So therefore, Biden's adjusted polling advantage decreases from 3.7 to 1.7, going from lean blue to tilt blue here for Biden on the map. All the way back over in New Mexico now, not enough polls for DDHQ to generate an average just yet, so instead let's take a peek at the latest average from race to the White House that has Biden leading by 5.7% based on just 5 polls. A 6-point victory in New Mexico for Biden would mark an underperformance relative to 2020 when he carried its 5 electoral votes by 11 points. Yet, that being said, New Mexico is one of only 4 states where Republicans have actually been overestimated on average, with an average polling miss here since 2008 being D plus 1.3. And the race therefore shifts from Biden plus 5.7 to Biden plus 7.0. So from lean Democrat to likely blue here, joining Colorado in that category. Over in North Carolina now, the DDHQ average shows Trump with a lead at 4.3%, according to 41 polls surveying the race in the Tar Heel state. Trump has led in every single poll taken in North Carolina since March of last year, and his overall average has not dipped below 3.5 points since last June. Over on our sheet, North Carolina has a historical polling error overestimating Democrats by 2.5 2.5%. Most notably, in 2020, the polls here had Biden leading by nearly 2 points, according to 538's final polling average, yet Trump carried the state by 1.4%. 538 also had Biden leading in 2016 when Trump ended up winning by almost 4 points. So with a 2.5-point adjustment in favor of Trump, his polling lead jumps from 4.3% to 6.8%, not quite enough to make it a likely Republican state. Instead, it joins Georgia as lean. Back over to the Midwest is Ohio, formerly known as the bellwether state, now a reliably Republican-leaning state. Trump currently leads by 8.4%, according to DDHQ's latest average of 14 polls. Trump has led by at least 8 points in 10 consecutive surveys. 8 points was his winning margin here in both 2016 and 2020. The average polling error here in Ohio is tied with Iowa as the largest in any state, with a weighted miss of R plus 4.6. Barack Obama was actually underestimated in both 2008 and 2012 when he won the state in both elections, but Trump outperformed his narrow polling leads in both 2016 and 2020 by 6.5% and 7.2%, respectively. Most recently in 2020, he led Biden by less than a point, according to 538, but only won by 8 points. And therefore, Ohio is adjusted from being a likely Republican state at Trump plus 8.4 to become solidly Republican at Trump plus 13. Just 4 states left to go here, with neither candidate reaching the necessary 270 electoral votes just yet. Trump leads with 253 electoral votes right now, over Biden's 203. Next, we head to Pennsylvania. The Keystone State is one of 2024's top battlegrounds, and the latest average from DDHQ and The Hill has Trump leading Biden by exactly 4% based on 58 polls. More surveys have been added to this average than any other, and Trump has looked noticeably strong in Pennsylvania since the debate, as this is his largest lead since February. The polls in 2016 and 2020, though, did underestimate Trump with misses outside the margin of error. While Hillary Clinton led Trump by 4.1% headed into Election Day in 2016, Trump won by 0.7%. And while they did correctly predict Biden's victory in 2020, they overestimated his margin by 3.5 points. The average bias across each of these elections comes out to R plus 2.2, which means that Pennsylvania's latest polling margin shifts from Trump plus 4 to Trump plus 6.2, another lean Trump rating. This one, though, lifts the former president above 270 electoral votes, now with 272, as he has flipped 5 of the 6 key battlegrounds, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, with Wisconsin still to come. Let's go to Texas. First, though, the second largest state in the nation with 40 electoral votes at stake. Trump's lead is 8.6%, according to Decision Desk HQ in The Hill, based on a total of 14 polls here in the Lone Star State. This is 3 points higher than his winning margin in 2016 of 5.6%. Texas does have a historical polling error overestimating Democrats by 1.9% since 2008, influenced most heavily by the 4.5-point underestimation of Trump in 2020. 538 had Biden within a point of Trump headed into Election Day, and only for Trump to end up winning by, again, 5.6%. Ultimately, Trump's 8.6-point average lead, according to the polling average, increases to 10.5 points with the added error. So Texas goes from likely R to solid for Trump on our map. Penultimately, we head to Virginia, where the latest polling average from DDHQ shows Trump leading Biden by 0.2% based on 18 polls. Yes, Trump leads Biden in Virginia, a state the Democrats have now won in 4 straight contests. It was Biden plus 10 in 2020, but the last 3 polls have each shown the 2 candidates tied. And that's very interesting, as going over to our sheet again here, we see that Virginia's average miss has underestimated Democrats by 0.1%. It's the narrowest miss on net across these 4 elections, as while Trump was underestimated in 2016 and 2020, they were both within the margin of error, whereas Obama overperformed by a wider margin in 2012. All things being said, though, the weighted error means that Trump's 0.2-point lead only decreases to 0.1%, the narrowest possible of margins, and so over here on our map, we're going to place Virginia down as ever so slightly tilting in Trump's direction. Now let's close out the video in Wisconsin, which usually does come last or near last due to not only its order in the alphabet, but also because it is one of 2024's most competitive states. Taking a look at the Decision Desk HQ and the Hill polling average here in the Badger State, Joe Biden leads Trump by half a point, based on an average of 41 polls since November of last year. Biden is polling in 46.6% on average to Trump's 46.1%, and as you can see here on the timeline, the lead has flipped back and forth and remained extraordinarily close pretty much all cycle long. Wisconsin has notably been decided by less than a point in 4 out of the last 6 presidential races. In terms of the previous polling error, though, Wisconsin has seen 2 of the strongest underestimations of Trump in the last 2 cycles. Hillary Clinton led by 5.9% in the final 2016 average, yet lost by 0.8%. And then Biden led by 8.4% in 2020 and only narrowly won by 0.7%. Now, the overall weighted error is R plus 4.3, so not only does Biden's half-point lead flip to Trump, but it goes all the way up to R plus 3.8, meaning that Wisconsin goes from tilt Democrat to lean Republican on the Electoral College map. So, using the latest polling averages in key battlegrounds across the country, and then shifting them by the average error in the previous 4 presidential elections, Donald Trump would win the 2024 presidential election with 335 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 203. Now, of course, we're still a long way out from November 5th, and these averages are certain to shift in all kinds of directions before then, but this is yet another data point suggesting that the Biden re-elect is in a very, very, very vulnerable position right now. You can feel free to comment your thoughts and feelings about this map in the comment section below. I appreciate all positive or negative comments. Also, make sure to let me know down there what other 2024 related videos you would like to see in the future. And remember as well, go to tryfume.com/election predictions or scan the QR code and use code election predictions to get your free Fume base when you order your journey pack today. Shout out to my channel members on screen here. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a member, go ahead and click the join button below this video to receive exclusive perks. Make sure to subscribe to my channel down below as well, and please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can check out more content from my channel here, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See you next time. EP out.